Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony, which today commemorates the 75th anniversary of the sinking of HMAS Yarra. My name is Michael Kelly, and joining us this evening from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Glenn Williams. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We are honoured to welcome the following who are joining us for the ceremony today. Mr. Peter Everly, President, ACT Branch Return and Services League of Australia, and members of the Naval Association of Australia ACT Branch. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. Particularly, we would like to welcome members of Reservoir RSL who are in attendance today. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we pay tribute to able seaman Donald Ross. Donald Ignatius Ross was born on the 14th of November 1920 in the Melbourne suburb of Coburg to Charles and Agnes Ross. He was educated at Our Lady of Lourdes in Thornbury and Christian Brothers College, Abbotsford. Donald Ross enlisted in the Royal Australian Navy following the outbreak of the Second World War, and after completing his training at HMAS Cerberus, he was posted to the crew of the sloop HMAS Yarra in June 1940. After spending the first year of the war in Australian waters, in August of 1940, the Yarra joined the Red Sea Force at the port of Aden. Over the next year, the ship took part in patrols in the Indian Ocean and the Persian Gulf, including the campaigns in Iran and Iraq. In November 1941, the Yarra took part in convoy duties in the Mediterranean, escorting convoys bringing supplies to the besieged garrison at Tobruk. Following the outbreak of the war in the Pacific, the Yarra returned from the Middle East. It was sent to Java for escort duties between Batavia and Singapore. On the 5th of February 1941, while under attack, it rescued 1,800 survivors from the sunken troop ship Empress of Asia. On the 4th of March, the Yarra was escorting a small convoy of 3 ships from Java to Fremantle when it was intercepted by 5 Japanese warships, 3 cruisers and 2 destroyers. Despite being outgunned and outranged, the Yarra placed itself between the enemy and the ships in its convoy and prepared to attack. A prisoner of the Japanese watched from another of the ships as the Yarra was engaged, later writing about what he had witnessed. The Yarra was the only ship left afloat, and we could see flames and a great deal of smoke. The 2 destroyers were circling Yarra, which appeared stationary, and were pouring fire into her. She was still firing back as we could see the odd gun flash. The last we saw of Yarra was a high column of smoke, but we were vividly impressed by her fight. 138 of Yarra's 151 crew were killed in the action or died in life rafts. First reported missing, able seaman Donald Ross was later determined to have been amongst those killed. His body was never recovered, and we did not know if he died during the battle or adrift in a raft. He was 21 years old. The names of those that died are commemorated on the Plymouth Naval Memorial in Britain, which is dedicated to the thousands of British and Commonwealth sailors who lost their lives at sea or who have no known grave. Donald Ross's name is also listed here on the Roll of Honour to your right, among the names of some 40,000 other Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember able seaman Donald Ignatius Ross, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world. They have no grave but the cruel sea, no flowers lay at their head. A rusting hulk is their tombstone, a fast on the ocean bed. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and good evening.